It's late July, and deep in the Ouachita Mountains, it is already heating up. Down on the Ouachita River, just before sunrise, AFF President Tillman Pittman is already casting and catching smallmouth bass, even before our host for the day arrives. This is our takeout point at Oden, but it's a quick drive 4 miles upriver to our launch site at Shirley Creek, where our guide for the day, Evan Smedley, unloads his Smith raft. Evan works at the Ouachita Outfitters retail shop in Hot Springs, and now has his own new guide company, Ouachita Fly Anglers, and he will introduce us to the upper Ouachita and how it fishes on a very warm summer day.
We're out here on the Ouachita River. We're up here near Oden. We're gonna be floating about a 4-mile stretch today. Water is on the lower side, but that does mean that it is a clear water and those fish are a little bit more concentrated. We got out here early this morning. It's probably about 7:30 now. Try to get an early bite on before it gets too warm. I think Tillman's up here. He's throwing a small clouser minnow. Gonna kind of see if we can get some stuff moving. You see that?
Mm-mm.
You had a fish move. That backside of that wood. We're gonna be fishing for smallmouth bass and spotted and largemouth. And then we'll catch a lot of perch, and sometimes you'll get a random grab bag of a catfish or a drum. Even the gar are real active this time of year. They'll blow up on your flies. Y'all caught much gar when y'all been out on Crooked or anything?
Never caught a gar.
Really?
Mm-mm.
We've been throwing big poppers, and if we keep it moving real quick on top of the water, we'll have a few explode up on it.
I've never caught a gar. I've always seen people talk about chasing them with a
Nylon rope.
piece of rope, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because their little teeth get caught up.
Yep, you can do a long piece of nylon rope and put like a knot at the end of it. And when they eat, you just let them kind of gnaw on it, and then you set that hook.
So what are you looking for in this water?
I'm looking for structure. That can be big boulders, that can be trees, and I'm also looking for transitions. So anywhere you see it going from extremely shallow to deep, or the opposite, from deep to shallow. They'll hang out above the shoals, they'll hang out below the shoals. When it gets real hot in the summer, like it probably will today, we will find them inside those skinny shoals. Usually that's more of a numbers game, but that's all right this time of year.
It looks fishy. I got hit by a long ear just then. I felt him.
You got a bump?
I got bumped by a long ear. That's what it felt like. Didn't feel like a bass. Felt like a brim.
Slowly move us along here. That flow stays pretty consistent on that left side, and then the right side is just a big deep hole. Find a lot of the better smallmouth right on that seam.
That's a nice fish moving
There's
there.
my
There's
white
an-
fly.
boom, there's another one. Woo.
Dang, sitting on it. I'll slow you down.
You're good. Big old spotted gar.
Yeah, it's kind of funky how they'll sit in those shallows. They look like a log.
Mm-hmm. Somebody ought to come knocking. That sucker.
Right behind this little island, they sit like that. Yep. Bait fish, bait fish. Yeah, this eddy right here. We call that stuff Hercules grass because it always amazes us how our fly can be barely tangled up in it and we can't rip it out. Ouachita is always bigger water than Caddo, but it's usually always a little bit dirtier. I'm not sure if that's just because it goes through more of the cattle ponds and stuff, or it's just a longer stretch and we're at the kind of bottom part of it. That fish?
No, I think it was just a snag. Do y'all have the gravel mining issues like they're having up in the Ozarks?
Yes, I believe that that's a big reason that we get the color that we have, because they got stuff up there near Mina and Cherry Hill.
So how'd you get started in fly fishing, guiding, kind of getting into this sort of whole environment?
So I grew up with a cane pole, doing a lot of crappie fishing. Never did much bass fishing with the regular spin rod. And then I had a buddy probably about 5 years ago that has nothing to do with outdoors. He is not an outdoors guy. Well, one day he came up and said, I'm gonna take you fly fishing. So I knew if he enjoyed it, it had to be something really awesome. So he took me to Little Missouri and we caught a couple trout and the rest is history.
So you've only been fly fishing 5 years? About 5, 6 years?
Yeah, 4.5, 5 years. So not a very long time.
Well, I see a lot of pictures with Evan Smedley and some pretty nice smallmouth. I've seen you with all sorts of warm water species. So you've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time.
It has. I think it's just I'm spending the majority of my time on the river, and I kind of do my own research. I don't really look up fly recipes and stuff like that. I look in the water. I just try out different colors until they work, and I've kind of found a solution and a path.
You're kind of in a neat spot because you're with Ouachita Outdoor Outfitters, and that's right here in Hot Springs,
yes,
which has traditionally been underserved for fly fishing.
Yes,
in fact, that
very
may
much
be
so.
the, as far as I know, it's the only place in town that has any kind of fly fishing.
It is, as far as a technical, even backpacking store and everything else. Yeah, but it's a great fly fishing spot. We are the only ones in town there, and you know, Hot Springs is right there on the gateway of the Ouachita, so there's really not any big towns once you get into the Ouachita. So a lot of our tourists are staying in Hot Springs and then venturing out, coming out here to the Caddo and the Ouachita.
And what I think is really cool about this area, and I think, you know, we were talking about this earlier, where I feel like the White, the Norfolk, Little Red, they get a lot of attention, but there's a lot of water right here. I mean, between the big lakes, Catherine, the Gray. And then you get into the Caddo, the Ouachita, the Little Missouri. I mean,
yeah, the Cossatot over near Mina.
And that doesn't even count
the little small
little lakes and creeks.
Yes,
if you want to get out in your car with the topographical map and start blue lining and looking for these little places, you can fish in places that don't see 10 people a year.
And I always say that's my number one tip to people is, you know, don't start on these bigger rivers. Go to the urban creeks that are inside your town, running through the town. I fished a lot of Fish Creek up in Little Rock, and there's a lot of trash in there, but there's also a lot of great fish in there. So you know, you don't have to have the special Caddo or Ouachita or stuff in the Ozarks. You just have to have a body of water. Even a pond will work to get you started.
But these waters are incredibly accessible.
Yes.
Particularly in the Ouachita. I mean, people forget just how big the Ouachita National Forest is and how many camping spots right on the river that give you the access to walk right in, where the bridges across bodies of water where you can just walk right down, get into that shoal water and really get a smallmouth experience. And you don't have, like, we're fortunate today we're in this boat, but we started at the bridge at Oden. I was catching smallmouth right there at the bridge at Oden, inside of the truck. I mean, like so there's great water.
And you can pick your, I mean, because you have so many access points, you can pick your mileage. We do a lot of overnighters, so you can do a 15 mile if you want, or you can do a 4 mile like we're doing today and knock it out in 4 or 5 hours.
Cool. You said you've made about 30 trips in this boat already.
I've made about 30 trips in this boat. I've only had it for about 4 months, so I've spent a lot of time out here. I'm starting to get gills, honestly.
Are you starting to become a smallmouth bum?
I'm a smallmouth bum, 100%.
That's
you know,
awesome.
I think I denied it when I first started, and you know, I like trout, but no, I'm a smallmouth freak.
Well, you're fortunate. I mean, we get a lot of we're based out of Central Arkansas. We get lots of calls from people in Hot Springs, like, hey, I'm trying to get into fly fishing, and it's really lucky now because we have Ouachita Outdoor Outfitters to point people to. Y'all do, I know y'all been having fly tying sessions at
Fly
night,
tying.
intro to fly fishing, getting people on there. I kind of liken Ouachita Outdoor Outfitters as a really cool place because it's everything you need and nothing you don't. When you go in there, there's just not a lot of fluff. If you want good camping gear, hiking gear, river gear, fly fishing gear, they've got it.
Quality.
And they've got good stuff. I mean, you're not going to walk out of there with something that you're like, well, I wish I hadn't done this. And
Right.
And the people there, I've always found, like you, how all that bunch that comes in there for years
We try to be family. It's a very relaxed culture there at Ouachita.
well, there's no pressure, but you're generous with knowledge about the area because you're
Yes.
really genuinely excited
Well,
about your home waters.
Because when we are not in that shop, we are out here in it. I mean, we live and breathe what we do over there.
Crooked was fine. We actually took the trip over to Crooked. So Evan, what draws you to the Ouachita?
I mean, I think the looks kind of give away my answer here. It's beautiful. You can really get away from people out here, even though, like we're talking about, there's a lot of access points, but there's a lot of river to be had. You see a lot of deer and bald eagles out here, but this is just kind of our happy place where I feel at peace. Plus, having really good fishing, it doesn't hurt at all either.
So we haven't seen another person today.
No, we have not.
There he is. Oh. I thought he had it. Boom.
Oh, may have been the same fish. Little guy.
But every time you were coming through there, I saw one.
I saw one come up and think about it.
Literally every time. I saw 3 different fish. I thought on the cast before, I thought he had it. He was so close.
The fishing on this Sunday started out slow when it was a little cooler, but as it heats up, so does the fishing. By noon, the bass, small and largemouth, and the brim are jumping at our flies and at times for the net.
But every time you were coming through there, I saw one.
I saw one come up and think about it.
Literally every time. I saw 3 different fish.
Man, this is awesome. Beautiful day out here. Nothing like standing in the river, kind of sound of the river and catching fish, hanging out with good guys. This has been it's been a fun day. I'll hold him way out, Ron, so he looks huge. All right, little man. It's awesome when you see them and they're like,
so awesome.
like you can
Especially
see
when they're dark, because you just see them kind of skating around and they lock eyes with that